Hey folks, Sean here, and in this episode, I want to talk to you about why you don't always need the latest version of that API or whatever component is being built into your B2B SaaS application experience. Now, for me, I'm going to phrase this around artificial intelligence because one of the tools that I'm selling at the moment, my B2B SaaS application to help people create automatic podcast show notes, is leveraging OpenAI's API to access tools like ChatGPT. Now, what I'm talking about here is the fact that there's definitely a race underway for AI dominance and superiority in terms of trying to be the market leader for the go-to tool in the generative AI space. And you've got companies like OpenAI, Google, and others vying for top spot, which means there are constant updates almost flying at us seemingly every day at this point in terms of what the latest tools can do, how that's better or more unique or whatever, right? But in the testing that I've done, not all of these tools are really ready for mainstream, and I'll share with you more about what I mean by that. But probably the most prominent, at least at the moment for the past couple of months, has been the evolution of open API's tool ChatGPT. And in particular, I'm referring to versions related to version 3 versus version 4. Now, if you've used the command line or the playground or any of that kind of stuff, you probably have tested or at least seen some form of a video, maybe on YouTube or somewhere else, about what the differences are between these two versions. And I think the statistic that was shared when they ultimately released version 4 from version 3 was that the tool itself, in terms of capability, went from, I think, a 10%-ish probability of passing something like a bar for acquiring your license to practice law to 90% probability of being able to do so. So they shared statistics like that in terms of basically demonstrating for folks or getting them to understand how significant of an upgrade that it was. And, I haven't dove deep into that particular statistic, but if that's true, obviously that's impressive and sounds like a lot of progress. However, what does its applicability look like in terms of a component into your B2B SaaS? Now, for the tool that I'm working on, which is helping people with automating the process of generating podcast show notes, it really didn't seem to make a major difference when I was doing the testing. And that's what I'm here to encourage you to do. As in, if there's a new version, whatever it may be, and everybody is swearing up and down that it's the next best thing and you absolutely have to have it, then first do some testing with it. See if it consistently generates better results and output, enabling your customers to achieve more successful outcomes, which is what we talk about a lot, right? That should be the focus. And if it does, then consider upgrading if it makes sense. But if it doesn't move the needle for you in a major way, and in this case for me it didn't, then it may not be necessary to upgrade because there may be other trade-offs that you're going to have to make as well too. Something we've noticed in the testing we've done is not only are the differences not all that significant in terms of the ultimate output, and what I mean by that is our actual users haven't noticed a major change when we've done that testing, but the program or the processing of the data happens significantly more slowly, and the cost is significantly higher. So the company's charging a lot more for access to version 4, and the performance of version 4 is considerably slower. So those are a lot of trade-offs to make for what I would consider to be a negligible improvement in terms of output. But that's just for now, right? And the tool's more likely to continue to get better. New versions are more than likely to be produced. But what I'm sharing with you is that don't feel compelled to have to blow up everything you're doing or switch to the new version immediately, because it may not necessarily move the needle for your customer. And ultimately, in the end, that's what matters most. Is your customer going to see a benefit? But for you to consider these other components in terms of, are all of these dimensions when added together worth it in terms of making the upgrade now, or does it make sense to wait, right? Sometimes it may make sense to wait, but just be under the impression that that might not be conventional wisdom, especially depending on the audience you're speaking with. Like my more technical audiences, they're expecting everyone to use the latest version of everything all the time. But my more business-oriented folks feel slightly differently. You, especially if you're a solo founder, I'm encouraging you to try to wear both hats. I know they can be tricky, but there are benefits to leveraging each strategy depending on the particular situation.